Welcome back to Aragon then. Just one more race for you before we round off here on round 5 of the FIM CEV Repsol. It's time for the European Talent Cup guys to come back out on track, and after a 10th split the top 3 across the line earlier in the day, it looks like we're going to be in for another barnstormer. The wet weather has dissipated and now it's sunshine soaking the MotorLand Aragón circuit, as it was for race 1 of the day for the European Talent Cup earlier in the day. And in a dramatic race, we'll try and squeeze it into some highlights for you. It was Guevara that got the jump from pole position, the championship leader, but what a race he had. Well, more on that in a minute. Marcos Ruda, his teammate, disappointment for him after crashing out on the opening lap. We're at the front of the race. We saw Clement Rouge hit the front earlier on, with Guevara's teammate also in contention there as well. A couple of riders fell, including Lorenzo Fallon and Slovenian rider Mirko Bulat. But then at the fight for the front, David Alonso, the number 80, was closing in, as was Alex Milan as well. With a number of riders all starting to bunch together at the front, including Juan Rodriguez, who started to take control. But then a long lap penalty was slapped firmly on the wrists of who was the race leader at that time, Izan Guevara. The team working on his bike after the 3-minute board had gone up. And it took him quite some time to take that long lap penalty, but in the end he did it. About 4 or 5 laps after he should have taken it, but in the end he took it nevertheless. And we thought, well, that was that. He's surely out of contention now. But a move around the outside of his teammate on the very last lap, with his teammate then crashing out in Juan Rodriguez. Then a huge moment into the final chicane allowed David Alonso to come back into contention. And with the inside line, you thought he was favourite. But again, Guevara was able to hold on around the outside and take another race victory, making it 4 consecutive wins in the series. And having battled back from a handful of mistakes and a long lap penalty, it was by far and away the best of the 4 victories we've seen from Guevara so far in 2019. But they get to do it all over again. 14 laps for the European Talent Cup of the MotorLand Aragón circuit. Just over 5 kilometres in left, with 7 left-handers and 10 right. It's got a bit of everything. Elevation changes, a long back straight, couple of technical chicanes, some fast-flowing left and right-handers. It's a proper racer's circuit, offering a little bit of everything. But it will be Guevara to start from pole position once more. My name's Jack Appleyard, with you for this final race of the day. Alongside me once more is Fran Wild.
Good afternoon.
Who spoke to an elated Izan Guevara earlier.
I did indeed.
And I'm sure he will be confident of making it 5 on the bounce, which is pretty much unprecedented in the European Talent Cup.
It is. We saw Mateo Pataka last year. It really gained some traction before then. He got injured and we didn't get to see what he may have gone on to do for the rest of the season. But Guevara, no such troubles for him so far this year, and on an absolute roll. So yeah, you wouldn't bet against him here, making it 5 in a row. And certainly this morning must have been a fairly depressing watch for those guys who were battling him, having seen how quickly he made up that time that he lost with that long lap penalty. And yeah, just round the outside and just looked like the class of the field, really. So I think he'll definitely be the man to watch in this one, although overconfidence has bitten many a champion before. We'll have to see how it goes off the line, but he does, of course, start from pole with a huge advantage in P1 on the grid as well.
He does, half a second quicker than anybody else he was yesterday, and didn't really get an indication of that pace at all in the first race until the very last lap, when suddenly he sort of pulled it out of nowhere to be able to get himself from 4th into the fight for the win. We didn't see it in the highlights, but it was an unbelievable move he put on this man, Juan Rodriguez, who will start from 2nd on the grid, not 1st as the indication is giving us. Rodriguez in the end crashing out of what would have been a debut podium finish. So he's got another opportunity now from 2nd on the grid to try and claim a first podium in the European Talent Cup in what is only his debut year.
You can see it's getting a little bit harder to hold that umbrella in the breeze down on the grid. But it's certainly lovely sunny skies now. All that grey cloud as well that I kept mentioning because I am a harbinger of doom, that's all pretty much gone as well. So I think we're definitely safe now. And we have Jose Antonio Rueda, and it says he's in second on the grid.
Well, actually, it may well be correct, because looks like Rueda's moved up, as has Marcos Rueda as well, which would give an indication that Guevara has been handed a grid penalty. So where exactly he's been shuffled backwards, we'll have to just have a look. We've not had any indication from, well, anybody really, as to why that would have been the case. We did think at the time that he'd taken his penalty a little bit too late at Izan Guevara.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but it does look like it was not a graphics error, and it is instead a fewer changes to that front row then. So we'll have to see what exactly. I imagine your suspicions are correct, and it may be to do with that long lap penalty. But yeah, certainly then that's putting a bit of a dent in the day of Izan Guevara then, but it's definitely can't count him out from making quite a serious comeback. But yeah, he's down in 7th, it says, on the graphics for the grid. So
a 6th place grid penalty then, you would imagine, which, I mean, you would guess at that been handed on him for taking the long lap penalty later than he should have done. Now,
you would imagine so, because for me, the most aggressive move we've seen today was Alcoba in the Moto3 race. And we didn't see anything too much come from that, so you can't imagine it's anything other than that Guevara is guilty of. But 6th place grid penalty for a guy with that pace, wouldn't expect it to have too much bearing on the race unless there's some really serious drama down at turn 1.
Plus, if I was David Alonso who finished that race in 2nd place, I might have a bit of an argument to put together as to, well, a 6th place grid penalty doesn't particularly help me.
Yes, this is true. The guys obviously who were directly racing him at the time of that transgression, but seems to be as it is. So 7th place it will be for Guevara on the grid, and obviously that bumps everyone ahead of him up 1 place. So yeah, we saw Clement Rouget was a really fast starter first time round, and he now is 1 place further up, so he could be one to watch. And Daijiro Sarko now on the 2nd row of the grid. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Guevara does navigate these first couple of turns.
Up to 6th place, as you say, Daijiro Sarko, named after the late great Daijiro Kato. His dad's Spanish and his mum's Japanese, so that's where that link comes from. He's another of the Red Bull rookies as part of this grid, as is Zonta van den Gorberg that we've seen, who's actually just next to him on the grid, as is Clement Rouget as well. So now row 2 of the grid is filled with rookies in the Red Bull Rookies Cup this year in Rouget, van den Gorberg and Sarko. So there is your championship leader, Izan Guevara. Quite impressive on that right-hand side of your picture, with 2 wins at Valencia, 1 in Catalonia, and then 1 here in Aragon as well.
Catalonia?
Yeah, well, it's just north of Leeds.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing CV. Certainly since that first round in Estoril, there has been no other man on the top step in the ETC. So 7th on the grid though. Of course, this is always the argument for the front row start, is the risk of getting tangled up in a little bit of drama around the first couple of corners. So he does have that to contend with, but certainly his pace, you'd expect to see him recover fairly quickly from that 3rd row of the grid. It's not that far back really.
Adrian, oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Adrian Cruz says, I was going to say, this man here will start the race from 8th on the grid. He ended 9th earlier, but his late race pace was pretty good. He managed to battle his way back through after a disappointing start, so he's one to keep an eye on. If he can get a better start, stay out of trouble, he has got the pace to tag on with the leading group. As has this man as well, Lorenzo Fallon. A huge high side, which we didn't see, but he was in a world of pain in race number 1 earlier in the day.
Yeah, it was a pretty full-on crash. No, we shouldn't joke, but obviously the Frenchman up and okay and back on the grid. Had some good pace so far this season, but just not quite able to crack that front group. So we'll have to see if he's got a little bit more in this race too. But here we go then. This is the grid with that penalty applied.
Yeah, revised grid, which means it's Juan Rodriguez to start from pole position ahead of Jose Rueda and Marcos Ruda. Row 2, Clement Rouget on to Van den Gorberg and De Giresaca. And then row 3, the man that should have been on pole position, Izan Guevara, aiming for a 5th straight victory. Now has to do it from row number 3 alongside Adrian Cruces and Lorenzo Fallon.
And then we have Eric Fernandez, Alex Mian and Gabin Planck on row 4, with David Alonso, Josh Watley and Fermin Aldeguer on row 5, with Vicent Falcone, David Munoz and Roberto Garcia on that 6th row of the grid.
Row number 7, Mario Meyer, Mattia Falzone, Diogo Moreira, the Brazilian, ahead of Julio Garcia, Marco Gaggi, Julen Avia, Andreas Koffler, Dirk Geiger and Mikael Bulik.
And then we have Shifaruddin bin Azman, Noah Datvila, Mattia Volpi, Dean Berta, Ivan Ortola, Tommaso Cavadini, Carlos Torresillas, Jack Hart and Soma Gorba. And then on the last row of the grid then, bringing up the rear, we have Kiko Maria and Cas Beekmans. So it's a full grid, as you can see, and of course even it could have been even fuller because we do have the ETC Series 2 race for the best of the rest guys who didn't quite make it onto the grid. But these guys then heading off on their warm-up lap, and another pretty exciting contest to come, I'm sure, especially now the conditions are a lot less of a question mark and that all of the track can be used for the crazy slipstreaming antics that we often see in the ETC.
And hopefully we're going to get a real fight at the front, similar to what we saw in race number 1. Izan Guevara, the championship leader, is going to have to work harder for it this time around, though. In fact, no, he's not going to have to work harder. Surely not than how hard he had to work in race number 1. In the opening laps, he will, having to now make the jump from the 3rd row of the grid rather than pole position. So that honour going the way of his teammate Juan Rodriguez, alongside Jose Rueda, the diminutive Spaniard, one of the major talents in this class, and probably you could put an argument together was the favourite for the championship ahead of this season. 4th last year with 2 third places, a 2nd place and a winner here at Aragon last year, but it's not really gone to plan for him so far this year. It's been all about Izan Guevara, now 44 points clear of Fermin Aldeguer, who battled through from row 5 of the grid. He's starting again from 15th and came through to 6th place earlier on today, just to limit the damage, but not to the extent he would have been hoping for, as 6th place handed him 10 points, so a further 15 went the way of the race winner.
Yeah, it's a pretty sizable advantage now for Guevara. So barring any serious mishaps here, you imagine he will have the most relaxed summer break of those on this ETC grid. But yeah, as you said, maybe not the expected favourite this season. Quite a few of the top guys from last year, including the champion, of course, Javier Artigas, moving up as well. But it is Guevara who's now firmly in control, and now from 7th on the grid. Will it all get a little bit spicy through turns 1 and 2, or do you think we'll get a clean run through and see him right back in that front mix again?
I think we'll see him making a lunge or
demon start.
Yeah, he's been pretty good from pole position. He obviously had pole position last time out in Barcelona as well and took full advantage of it there. This time around, though, he's going to have to start from 7th for 6th place grid penalty for not taking his long lap penalty when he should have done. In the end, it didn't really cost him too much at all, because he put in an absolute stormer of a penultimate lap and final lap as well, because he picked off the 3 guys in front of him like they weren't even there, especially as his teammate. So impressive was that move around the outside at turn number 3. It's a quick right-hander, is that Carlos Checa curve. He just rolled around the outside of him so comfortably. But he's got to do it all over again. 44 points may well be his championship lead, but he can't be thinking conservatively just yet. He's got 3 teammates in front of him, one of them on pole position in the form of Juan Rodriguez. Can the number 38 get the jump? He's never had to start a race from pole before, certainly in the European Talent Cup. Can he make the most of it now? It's not the best of starts, but it is from his teammate Marcos Rueda. A disastrous start to the day for him. Saw him having to start from the back of the grid and then crash out on the final lap. Well, it couldn't be more different this afternoon because the number 69 has got the jump and the whole shot.
Yeah, straight through to the front was Rueda after, like you said, disappointment in the first race of the day. And it looks like everyone's fairly cleanly through those first couple of corners, so that's good stuff. And you can see, yeah, really losing out was Rodriguez off pole, but now fighting back through into third. It looks like he's going to not quite making that stick then. And yeah, obviously also a clean run through then for Guevara, although he's not made up too much ground.
No, up to 6th place is the championship leader at the moment. Just tucked in behind, I think that's Clement Rouget. Yeah, it is. He's got his teammate, the number 38 of Juan Rodriguez, when it starts from pole position in front of him, and it's a good start, a better start coming from Zonta van den Gorberg as well in 3rd place, the Dutch rider. Jose Rueda, better stuff from him as well to settle into 2nd place. But already Guevara starting to pick his way through up to 5th place now. He's the championship leader as he's edging ever closer to the top 5.
I think that might be Sarko actually, so it's actually...
Oh,
yeah, it is. It is. Apologies. So, yeah, Guevara then actually a little bit further back than we thought, and struggling to make those moves stick in the early stages, but I'm sure he will soon set about making his way through to the front. And we see now at the front it's Rueda who takes over in the lead from Rodriguez after that, from Rueda rather. The Cuna de Campeones guys, they're a confusing bunch right now for us, aren't they? But yeah, so Rueda demoted.
Oh, there's a problem. That's Guevara. It's the number 28 of Guevara. Did he have a problem? He was sat up and waving his hand, slapping his tank as if something had gone wrong. But it looks as if he's recontinued again. I'm not sure what the issue was there, but it was clearly an issue because he sat up and started pounding the tank as if something had gone wrong on that Cuna de Campeones machine. But it looks to have recontinued. But he's quite a way down the field now. He came through the checkpoints outside of the top 10. He flashes past our commentary position and he's continuing to motor forward, so no idea what happened there, but just for a split second it appears as if it was all over for Guevara.
Yeah, looked like something's obviously happened that he thought maybe was going to be a mechanical retirement rather than just a little bit of an issue. But it has dropped him down to 12th now, so even worse than the grid penalty. Can he now pull out the ride of his ETC life to try and get back towards those front runners? I'm not going to bet against him after what we saw this morning, to be perfectly honest. But at the moment, Rueda then fairly comfortable at the front. And you see it's a tight fight there, and Rodriguez. Honestly, the Cuna guys. So he's just in there now, is our championship leader, Guevara, just getting a little bit racy in the back of this front group.
Yeah, the reason I was getting confused with Guevara and Sacco is again Guevara. Oh, he's so confident at the moment. He's just rolled around the outside of 2 of them into turn 8. He is a special talent and he's proving it again. One slight mistake or one slight error with the machine down the back straight, but he's almost immediately put it behind him to start picking his way through the field again. He's just a class above at the moment, is Guevara. He's just got so much pace on everybody else. He makes it look so easy.
Yeah, he really does. Some of the moves that he's pulled today, round the outside, just making everyone look a little bit silly, really, at times, but really impressive stuff from the Spaniard. Be interesting to watch his progress now. He does have plenty laps to try and chip away at them, and yeah, obviously head down and on with that task now after whatever that issue was. Seems to have left him alone again now. All seems to be going perfectly to plan again for the number 28, but yeah, I have to see and keep an eye on that because it must be a little bit of a worry for him in the back of his mind if something had just temporarily caused him a bit of an issue.
Well, he started this lap in 12th place. He's already managed to battle his way through to 7th. He's coming under a bit of pressure from David Alonso, which is the battle that we saw incidentally for the lead earlier in the race. Now it's for 7th place. He's got Zonta van den Gorberg in front of him, and now he's going to go the long way around both of them, van den Gorberg and Fallon as well. So suddenly Guevara started 12th on the last lap. He's on the outside. Is he in a bit of trouble here? He's surely not going to hang on around the outside. Yes, he is. Brave stuff again. But he's got himself up into the top 6, having posted the fastest lap of the race as well.
Again, just supreme confidence there to hang it round the outside and keep it all together. And obviously, You do have to have a bit of trust in your competitors to do that, because that is a classic place for someone to maybe make a mistake, and if you are the guy on the outside through no fault of your own, you're going to fairly swiftly be heading into that runoff area. But all going well now for Guevara on this fight back through the field.
He's already got the better of his teammate Juan Rodriguez. He's now edged his way past Clement Rouget and even has the time just to wave goodbye to him as well as he edges into third place. Now he's got his sights set on Marcus Ruder and Jose Rueda at the front of this one, but the manner in which he's edging through, it's a matter of when, not if, he's going to hit the front of this race.
It most definitely is, and I think it'll be fairly interesting to see as well when he does hit the front, if he will pull the pin even and immediately try and pull away, or if he's going to just be content to stay at the front of this leading group and yeah, keep it nice and steady. And here we go then, already looking for a way through on Rueda in the lead of the race, but thought better of it there. But yeah, it's coming soon, isn't it, from Guevara?
Yeah, it's definitely coming soon, might even come now. That's number 31 of Roberto Garcia. He's gone down at turn 5. Disappointment for him, because he was actually slapped with a long lap penalty earlier in the day. So having got a penalty in race 1, he's now crashed out with race 2. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's taken him a couple of laps to battle through from 7th place, and now Guevara hits the front. Does he? Yes, he does. I thought for a second Rueda was going to try and slam the door shut at high speed as they flick left into the final complex of corners, but Guevara holds on and he'll lead them across the line. Izan Guevara, looking for 5 straight European Talent Cup wins, is supremely impressive.
And then just behind as well, that battle for, well, that front battle, almost 6 abreast there. And we've got someone falling foul of that shuffle into turn 1. Who was that? Just
I think it's Van den Gorberg.
It was, just able to slot back in though, luckily. But yeah, that runoff area, very useful for the Dutchman there. So Rueda's got the better of Guevara once again and back through, as is Ruder. But I'm sure he'll be making another move to try and assault the lead soon enough.
And there goes Fermin Aldeguer. He was the man fighting with Guevara for the race win in Barcelona at round 4 of the series. He's now battled his way through from a poor grid slot. He was back on row number 5. 15th on the grid was Aldeguer. He's got himself up into podium contention now as they flick into turn number 8. It looked as if a move was coming from Guevara, and yeah, we pin back, and there he is up into 2nd place now, having got the better of his teammate Marcos Ruder. And again, he'll set his sights on Jose Rueda and probably look to make a move either into turn 12, which is upcoming now. They'll flick left over the crest of the hill into turn 11. He moves to the inside, hard on the brakes, and there he goes into the lead of the race. I think his biggest issue is whether he can just get half a lap to be able to pull clear and escape the slipstream behind him, because once he does, I feel like everybody else is just going to be waving goodbye to him. But the issue at the moment is, especially on these Moto3 standard machines, as Van den Gorberg, having run wide half a lap later, has now crashed out, or the bike has come to a stop. Disappointment, well, bitter disappointment for him. He's absolutely distraught.
He is, yeah, bless him. So obviously even tough when it's the 2nd race of the day. You're not going to head back out there and race, and it's quite a while till we're back on track with the ETC. But so Rueda then holds firm in the head of the race. It's that slipstream at the moment that just Guevara can't quite escape, but it looks like he's gone straight back for the lead again, and it's all a bit of a shuffle at the front, and they're almost side by side over the start-finish line. Could be a preview of the final lap.
3 abreast over the line with Ruder on the inside. He's the favourite, but around the outside comes Guevara once again. Just slings it across them to take the lead, and now surely with a full lap in front of him, if he can hold off any attention from behind, this could be the lap to possibly break them. And Rueda knows that as well, because he's pouncing under the inside of Marcos Ruder, knowing that he can't allow Izan Guevara to get into his rhythm at the front of this race.
Yeah, Rueda looking at the moment like the man who is very much desperate to stop the onslaught of Guevara, and making those moves as soon as the door is even slightly open, making sure he can't really get into his rhythm, the number 28, and start to escape. And you can see they've got a little bit of a gap back now to 3rd at the moment, and Rueda all out of shape, taking a nice scenic route over the green stuff there. But this fight here, they're going to lose too much ground if they're not careful, and they keep chopping and changing as those guys at the front really get their heads down. Guevara
had a look over his shoulder when he didn't need to really. He just needs to put his head down in this sort of situation. It's allowed Rueda just to tag onto the rear wheel, but these two have definitely managed to escape the chaos behind them in the battle for third place, which is currently being led by David Alonso, with Firmin Aldeguer and Adrian Cruces there in 4th and 5th place. We're at the front of the race, as we expected. Guevara, now that he's hit the front, has splintered the group in just half a lap. And now flick into the final chicane before going down the back straight. Just ever so slightly wide and a bobble on the front end. He nearly took the front there, did Guevara. He just proves how much he's pushing, and that's allowed Rueda to really close in on the rear wheel. That was a lucky escape for Izan Guevara. He had a big bobble on the front end, and for a second, he just thought he was going to wash from beneath him, but he luckily held on to it and held on to the lead, but not for long.
Yeah, nicely held, and a bit of a warning then for Guevara, and Rueda again striking pretty quickly. He knows that the guy has the pace to try and escape if he's allowed to hit the front and then stay there. So Rueda again then taking over at the front of the race, still incredibly close together, and now obviously it's Guevara who's got that slipstream, and I'm sure he'll be attacking back into turn 1, and yes he does, sure as ever, but Rueda really seems the man to be able to go with him at the moment, and those guys just behind, there's a good few tenths now behind these top two.
It's more than a few tenths, it's 9 tenths, nearly a second between the leading two.
They've really pulled out a gap then on the last couple of laps.
They really are starting to dominate, but if they continue to battle as they are there, it will just give a glimmer of hope to that fight for third place behind that can close back in. Currently being led by another of the Estrella Galizia Talent Team riders in Adrian Cruces, so that squad currently enjoying a good day with a man in 1st and 3rd.
Squad. The way you said it was extremely gangster. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
But these two guys at the front then, I think Rueda's definitely got his sights set on at the very least upsetting Guevara's rhythm in a fairly serious way. So far, great tactics from the Estrella Galicia rider, able to set good pace on his own at the front as well, but also attacking at all the right moments to try and make sure Guevara's not able to really put the hammer down. But yeah, we'll have to see what the gap's like next time around. It looks maybe a little bit less than it was before, but not so sure. It's hard to tell with these guys. They concertina corner to corner so quickly. And then we have another change for the lead, and Guevara again. Bit of a, well, not really necessary at that point in the lap, really, but nothing to choose between these two. But it does look like that chasing pack is a little bit closer than maybe they were before.
They're definitely just getting in each other's ways of these leading duo of Rueda and Guevara, because Cruces, who's leading that fight for third place at the moment, although probably not for long with the way in which David Alonso has pulled out from behind him, they have definitely closed in, and they're taking full advantage of the fact that Rueda and Guevara, instead of going forwards, are going sideways past each other.
Yeah, this is one thing Guevara also needs to think about. He may know he has the pace to really pull away from those guys behind, but so far it looks like Rueda does as well. So if he is able to just sit behind him for a few laps, it may well help them both out and see them escape from these guys who are battling behind. But so far, definitely Guevara's focus is on leading this race.
Meanwhile, in the fight for third place is now Alex Mian that's taken control of that one, aiming for back-to-back podium finishes here at Aragon. Guevara just waving his left hand about there. Was he hoping to hopefully have Rueda just tuck in behind him? I'm not sure exactly what he was doing there, but he was certainly waving it about quite frantically.
It seems like the gap's gone out a little bit again after that kerfuffle, but yeah, Guevara, that classic young rider of tapping the back of the seat.
It's a talent cup special, isn't it?
It really is. There's that and the looking behind. Like, you really don't ever see the likes of Marc Marquez and Fabio Quartararo tapping the back of their seat and looking over the shoulder. There was a great slow-mo clip of Jack Miller having a look at Marc Marquez, I think from Mugello near the start of the race, but it's not a usual one, so it always does make me chuckle a little bit when they're so adamant that the guy behind them is definitely going to listen. But so far, though, it's hard to argue with Guevara's logic. He is clearly the man with the pace, so Rueda could do worse than to sit behind him, but of course it may also cost him the win. Whilst they may escape from those behind, if he can't keep up with Guevara, then what he has to do is keep attacking him regardless.
He's pushing on though, is Guevara. He was slightly wide into turn 12, the first of the chicanes, and then into the second one. Again, he didn't get the best line, and again he's having a look over his shoulder, and if you're going to do it anywhere, don't do it down the long back straight, because that will completely cut any momentum that you were having, and it will allow the man behind you to catch him and then go back past him. Perfectly demonstrated by Jose Rueda.
Yeah, exactly. That's just about the biggest hole you can punch in the air if you're trying to look behind yourself on a more than kilometre long straight. But immediately trying to fight back is Guevara, but Rueda is just ahead over the line. Not that we're anywhere near the final lap yet. And going down into turn 1 then, Guevara back ahead, but these two still taking chunks out of each other, but so far pretty clean race. But they're a little bit wide there from Guevara as well. He's fast, but it's certainly not perfect laps at the moment. Just a little bit here and there where you can see Rueda's just a little bit more, not comfortable, but a little bit less scrappy at the moment.
It's all a bit frantic from Guevara. He's clearly got the pace just to outstretch these guys. It's certainly proven by qualifying, but although in Moto 2 we saw the precision of Edgar Pons, the perfection from him to be able to edge clear when he had to do, it's nothing like that from Guevara. And again, he has a look over his shoulder, as does Alex Mian as well. It really is a Talent Cup special. You see in this one, the British Talent Cup, the Asia Talent Cup, and I'm sure the Northern Talent Cup, which is incoming next season, will have looks over the shoulder aplenty. I'm
sure it will. It's definitely a I don't want to say a teenage boy thing, but unfortunately, obviously, we do have a fully male grid here. But it is a very much young racer situation, isn't it? The looks over the shoulder and the tap in the back of the seat. But at the moment, though, these guys then still able to just keep that gap. I can't help but think if they did start messing around a little bit, they might be able to pull it even further out. But it is Alex Mian now in third, and he seems to have got a bit of breathing space of his own. And it'll be interesting to see now he's free of that squabble, whether he can start to chase these two down.
Here comes Rueda, then tucked in behind the race leader Guevara. The lap previous he was able to motor his way past, in part thanks to Guevara looking over his shoulder. This time around he didn't get a helping hand from Guevara, but he's still able to pull out but not get the better of Guevara into turn 16. Guevara ever so slightly wide through 17, but just about holds on. Meanwhile behind, Alex Mian, as I think you said, Fran, he's putting a bit of a charge together here. On that last lap, 0.3 quicker than the leading duo, means that he's cut their advantage down to 0.7 of a second. And with 6 laps to go, he's got plenty time to be able to make this into a 6-wheeler at the front.
He has, yeah. Obviously, it's about a 2 minute, just over 2 minute lap here of MotorLand for these guys. So it's a fair way to go in this race still, like I said, with 6 laps. And Mian, certainly the guy who at the moment looks like the third place on the podium is going to be his, if not a little better, if he can continue cutting into this advantage. But Rueda's back at the front then, and not too much squabbling for a little while, but Mian nevertheless still able to just reel them in a little bit. So really impressive stuff from this man. You saw another look over the shoulder there. So yeah, as you can see though, the fight for fourth is still a huge gaggle of riders. Plenty of names in there who will be desperate to get to the front of this little train. And oh, bit of a moment there, and that could have been a bit of a disaster in such a close group, but well recovered. And yeah, even 3 wide round there.
If I was the manager of Izan Guevara, you'd be buying him blinkers like they put on horses to make sure that he can only look forwards and doesn't have to turn around and look over his shoulder as much as he possibly can. He went so well in race 1 because he had to take that long lap penalty, and he had no option but to look forwards and look backwards.
Yeah, it's random reference on that note. It's something mentioned, I believe, in David Coulthard's autobiography, and we've had a crasher.
It's Alex Mian that's gone down.
It is pushing too hard, and I cursed him obviously with the Scottish Formula 1 driver reference, but gone down there, looks to be up and okay, but that's a heartbreaker after a good race of him this morning, and then really was catching those guys in the lead. So obviously just asking a little bit too much of it and not able to stay within the same postcode of Guevara and Rueda. But yeah, anyway, it's a well-known thing for those guys that it's just don't look back. This is the key advice from most people who race professionally and have done and have had some incredible success in their careers. Don't look over your shoulder, because that's not where you're going. You're trying to go forward. And yeah, definitely Guevara doesn't need to, especially when they've got such an amazing gap. That's what the pit board is for. And I'm sure it will say on there that it's, you know, these 2 guys in the lead and then a group or whoever X seconds back. So just needs to calm it down a little bit and focus more a little bit on this guy who's able to stay with him at the moment. And it really is an impressive race so far from Rueda.
After the crash for Alex Mian, just pushing on as he was closing in on the leading duo. It means that they're now 2.8 seconds clear of Rueda and Guevara at the front of this one. 5 laps to go. It looks like the battle for the win is going to come down towards these two, as again, he always does it at that part of the circuit as well. As he comes out of turn 7, he has a look over his shoulder every single time. He's done it lap after lap. And I think as a team manager, he's going to get a clip around the back of his head when he gets into Parc Fermé, if he manages to get there, because it may well cost him a race win if he continues to do it as much as he is doing. But so far, he's getting away with it, and he's able to hang on to the coattails of Rueda at the front of the race, who, it has to be said, we were fairly begrudging of him in the opening part of the race when we were looking at the grid, saying that he was possibly one of the favourites for the championship, but hasn't really lived up to expectations so far. But this is a best ride of the season coming from the number 95. He won here at Aragon this time last year, and now he's looking fairly strong and could well put together a second victory of his European Talent Cup life once again here at MotorLand Aragon.
Yeah, and you can see Guevara then just having a quick look up the inside, but not making that move. But yeah, what intrigues me, oh, there we go, you see a little bit wide from Rueda, and Guevara takes the lead back again. So they're again so close together, nothing to choose over the start-finish line to start with 4 laps to go now. So it's ticking down, but nothing to choose between them. But yeah, it always intrigues me what he thinks he's going to see behind him when the last time he looked is like more than 3 seconds back to the guys that are chasing. Does he think that the guys in the second group are going to be 3 seconds a lap faster than him? Because it's not going to change that much when you've got a significant gap. It's likely going to be fairly significant the next time you look as well. But this battle for third now then, with that crash of Alex Mian, it's getting fairly feisty, and it's Fermin Aldeguer in the front of this one. So good ride from him, makes some good positions up from his grid slot, and yeah, now really in the fight for this podium. And well, how many guys are there? 7, 8, 9 of them? There's a fair few fighting it out for rostrum glory here.
Yeah, the battle goes all the way back to Juan Rodriguez, who started the race from pole position, now back down in 11th. So it is an 8-rider gaggle fighting out for third place, with Fermin Aldeguer currently fronting it at the moment. Back at the front though, 2 temps separate Rueda and Guevara last time around, which is what we've seen for the vast majority of the past few laps. Meanwhile, we'll get these guys through turn 12 with Adrian Cruces coming through to hit the front now, with David Alonso there in 4th place. Better ride coming from Lorenzo Fallon as well, after crashing out quite heavily in race number 1. He's back to it and now making a move, or looking up the inside of Fermin Aldeguer, but no way through on this occasion. So currently Adrian Cruces is the man leading this 8-rider fight for third place. But here comes Alonso and Aldeguer and Fallon, they're all closing in.
I was going to say, look at the slipstream down here with those guys in that huge group. And if you are one of them sat behind, you know, 2 or 3 riders abreast just ahead of you, that's a really big hole in the air that you get to take advantage of. But it's all getting pretty close. You see Fallon just forced to sit up a little bit there around the final corner. But I'm quite impressed. None of them on the green stuff there on the exit, managing to keep it fairly tidy. But I'm sure into turn 1 again, there's going to be 3, 4 wide, and who will be latest on the brakes? So it's the number 74 of Sarko, I believe, who has then taken over in the lead of this train. But you can see how quickly it can change with Cruces and Fallon there, shuffled right back into the middle of this group after leading it only a few seconds ago almost. Tajiro
Sarko leading the way, looking for another podium after he jumped onto the top 3 steps for the first time in Barcelona last time out, picking up 3rd place in what was an almighty battle as well, whilst his teammate Guevara and Fermin Aldeguer managed to break clear. David Alonso is looking for back-to-back podiums himself after finishing 2nd, just narrowly behind Guevara in race 1 this morning. It's a good ride again coming in from Ivan Ortola. Again, he'll be just questioning what could have been if he'd have put in a better Saturday performance. 33rd on the grid. He managed to pick up 5th place last time around. He's inside the top 6 today as well. Meanwhile, David Munoz has had to retire down pit lane, and number 64 just rattled along past us. Has now parked it up in pit lane. We're back at the front, 2.5 laps to go. It's starting to get interesting in the fight for the second European Talent Cup win between these two. Jose Rueda leads the way in front of Izan Guevara, who's targeting a 5th straight win in this series and will take an even firmer hold of the championship ahead of the summer break.
Then we can see then Sarko still in the head of this freight train, fighting to complete that podium, and there's 8 riders in that battle there, so that could get pretty interesting as well. I think we're going to have a classic duel to the line and then another classic group ETC fight just behind to decide that 3rd place. But so far then, these two guys still absolutely stuck together, and you can see Rueda then just pulling out, and wasn't quite ahead before the start finish line, so it could come down to something quite decisive that at the end of the race. But so far absolutely evenly matched once again, and always seeming to be swapping positions on this start finish straight in front of our comms box. But Sarko then just able to keep ahead of that, even on that run down into turn 1. Couldn't get overhauled, the Japanese rider, so impressive stuff from him as well to have emerged to head that second group.
Jose Rueda then that leads the way ahead of Izan Guevara, and as you rightly say, Fran, Rueda is a real diminutive little character compared to Guevara, who, despite only being a year older, is quite a bit taller at 14 years of age, and certainly carries a lot more weight on board that number 28 machine. So you would imagine that Rueda may well just have the better punch towards the line if it comes down to that. Certainly down the back straight, we've seen on a number of occasions Rueda's been able to drag his way past Guevara fairly comfortably. It's getting down to the interesting parts of this race now with just 1.5 laps remaining. They're going to just climb over the top of the hill before then plunging back down towards turn number 12 in front of the wall. Rueda still leads, the left foot comes out just to dab it as he then kisses the curb on the right hand side. Guevara, we've seen him make a move there already today, but no way through on this occasion. Into the final chicane, the rear wheel just kissing up in the air from Rueda as he gets hard on the brakes. Next time around, it's going to be also important through there. Who can get the best run? The dress rehearsal now. A look over the shoulder again from Guevara. Time and a place. Why is he doing it? With just 1.5 lap to go. Surely that will cost him an opportunity of moving past to lead the race onto the final lap. It will be Rueda to go into the final corner on the penultimate time in front. As we've got another faller out there, that's Andreas Koffler, the Austrian, with his brother Max back in action at the Red Bull Ring as part of a wildcard ride in a few weeks' time. What's happened here with Andreas Koffler on the green stuff, and it spat him over the top. That is a huge crash, and the bike freewheeling into the barriers as well. Oh, that's going to be an expensive bill for Andreas Koffler. Meanwhile, we're on to the final lap of the race, and it's Jose Rueda that leads the way, looking for a second ETC win. Not only in his career, but here at Aragon as well. He's got the form around MotorLand Aragon, but as has the man behind him, Izan Guevara. A race win earlier in the day, now looking for 5 back-to-back victories in the ETC. Currently, Rueda holds away. Another look over the shoulder from Guevara. Surely we're over 6 or 7 looks over the shoulder now in this race alone. Crazy stuff from Guevara, especially on the final lap of the race, and now Rueda's up to it as well as we're going towards turn 8.
Yeah, I think it looks a little bit like Guevara's maybe stalking him, but both are so keen to see who is chasing them down. And yeah, definitely maybe better to concentrate on each other, but I think this is going to go all the way to the line, this fight.
Guevara tucked in behind Rueda as we climb over the hill for the final time. This is a good passing opportunity, and Guevara's just closing in on him, but he sits up early there. He seems fairly comfortable even on this final lap, does Guevara. We've seen him make a move here, lunge up the inside, but no way through at turn 13. We've now got the final chicane before the back straight, turns 14 and 15. A good run from Rueda. He's on the curbs on the outside there. It was just kicking him sideways ever so slightly, but just gets it in line at the end. We cut back to the battle for 3rd place, which is currently been held by Dejira Sacco, but back at the front, Guevara will be tucked in behind Rueda, the race leader, as we edge ever closer towards turn 16 and 17. We're onto the monster back straight. Let's have a look at the guys at the front, because Guevara's edged his way into the front. Rueda will settle in towards 2nd place and then pull out to look to make a move. Can Guevara hold on to it, or will Rueda get the drag towards the flag? Izan Guevara looking for a 5th straight European Talent Cup win, tucks in behind the bubble, edges race towards the checkered flag. Rueda will pull out, but Guevara just holds on. 27 1,000ths of a second across the line. Rueda holds up his one finger in the air, thinking he's got the better of it, but our timing screens tell us that it's Guevara that makes it 5 on the bounce in the European Talent Cup. A fantastic 5 for the talented Spaniard, and David Alonso makes it back-to-back podiums after coming out on top in a fierce battle involving 9 riders for 3rd place, just getting the better of Jajira Sacco on the drag towards the flag. Rueda is still convinced that he was the one to take 1st place, but it has been adjusted and it's 13 1,000ths of a second, but still in the favour of Guevara. It remains a superb 5 wins on the bounce for the 14-year-old Spaniard. And as a result, before we head into the summer break, he is the runaway championship leader, and quite rightly as well. It wasn't tactically the greatest race we'll ever see from Guevara, with numerous looks over the shoulder, but in the end, all that matters is who takes the checkered flag first, and it was the number 28. Rueda back onto the podium now, a good result for him as he tries to get his 29th season up and running. He had a strong performance in Barcelona last time out, did the number 95 by getting himself into the top 5 for the first time this year, but this team, Estrella Galicia Talent Squad, at least have got themselves back onto the podium. And talking of talent teams, the Angel Nieto Samakatar Aspar squad also onto the podium as well, thanks to that man, the number 80 of David Alonso. 4th place going the way of Jajira Sacco, with Fermin Aldeguer taking 5th, who will stay 2nd in the championship, with Ivan Ortola coming home in 7th, but with a championship lead of 44 points prior to this, and another race win for Guevara and 5th for Aldeguer, does mean that's another 14 points going the way of Guevara, so his championship lead will be, I would imagine, in the region of 58 points now, just under 60 points, definitely over 2 race victories, which is the crucial statistic, with only 3 rounds remaining. Albacete Jerez, the final race of the year at Valencia in November, just a week before the MotoGP final, also at Valencia. Delight again for Guevara. He will feel untouchable at the moment. Over 3 different circuits, a double race win in Valencia, a single victory in Barcelona after fighting off a last lap challenge from Fermin Aldeguer, and now another double win for Guevara. That man truly is a star of the future. Next stop for him will be the Junior World Championship next year, you would imagine. A part of the Cuna de Campione squad at the moment, and have themselves a Moto3 squad with a couple of riders riding forward, but you would imagine there's going to be some fairly big teams with World Championship aspirations taking a good look at that young man, because it's very rare in the Talent Cups, regardless whether it's the European, the British, the Asia Talent Cup, that we see someone dominate a championship as impressively as he's doing, especially at just 14 years of age as well. Truly is making a mark, making sure people remember the name of Izan Guevara. Good ride from the diminutive Jose Rueda as well. Back onto the podium. He's not best pleased, is he? I'm sure he's disappointed he's lost out on the final lap, but the Estrella Galicia Talent team tasting podium success once again. Of course, Alonso Lopez and Sergio Garcia in the World Championship will be back at it for them in Brno in 2 weeks, as will Nico Terol there as part of the junior setup for the Samakatar Angel Nieto squad. Of course, Nico Terol fresh from making his Moto E debut as well, helping out the junior squads here with the likes of Barry Baltus and Aleix View and Max Koffler in the Junior World Championship, and then of course David Alonso and Ivan Ortola in the European Talent Cup. Here's the race winning manoeuvre on the final lap. The pair coming so close together once again, but Guevara did look comfortable on the last lap, just biding his time, stuck in behind Rueda, knowing that he'd be able to just draft his way past down the back straight, and that's exactly what he did. A classic Aragon move, biding his time, knowing the opportunity will come to him on the final lap. And despite Rueda tucking in behind and trying his level best to get the drag towards the flag, the pair of them both celebrated across the line. But in the end, it's a fantastic 5 straight victories for Izan Guevara. Let's get his thoughts now down in Parc Ferme with Fran Wild.
So that makes it an incredible 5 wins in a row now, Izan. And that was a very different race, a duel against José Antonio Rueda, right to the line. What can you tell us?
Yes, incredible the race and very difficult in the battle. And José Antonio Rueda, no words. Thanks to my team and my parents and my sponsors. Increíble.
Vale, y ahora en castellano.
Bueno, ha sido una carrera difícil. Hemos estado toda la carrera batallando con José Antonio Rueda y bueno, ha sido un final de carrera muy divertido y con muchos adelantamientos en la carrera. Y el final de carrera ha sido con una estrategia de adelantar al rebufo en la última curva. Y eso hemos hecho y nos hemos llevado la victoria. Y quiero dar las gracias a mi equipo, a mis padres y a mis patrocinadores.
Gracias y enhorabuena.
Gracias.
So here are the race highlights from the final European Talent Cup race of the day here at Aragon. And after a 6th place grid penalty handed upon Izan Guevara, it was in fact his teammate Juan Rodriguez that started from pole position. Jose Rueda, though, from 2nd on the grid, made the better of the starts, with Marcos Rueda joining them in the battle for the lead in the early stages as Guevara had to pick his way through the field, which he duly did in quite impressive style, eventually getting to the front of the race, along with Rueda and Rueda. Guevara then pulled the pin and brought with him Rueda as those two started to break clear of this mammoth fight for 3rd place, with Fermin Aldeguer coming through from 15th on the grid to lead that at one stage. But a bobble through turn 8 allowed everybody to pounce upon him as he slipped further backwards. Alex Mian had broken clear in that fight for 3rd place and was closing in on the leaders before crashing out at turn 14. Meanwhile, back out front, it was all coming down to between Guevara and Rueda on the final laps. They'd swapped places lap after lap, corner after corner at some instances, with a couple of guys falling behind, including a monster crash for Andreas Koffler after he got onto the AstroTurf on the outside of turn number 9. But on the final lap, after drafting his way past down the back straight, Guevara just held on by 13 1,000ths of a second to make it 5 wins in a row and take a real stranglehold of this European Talent Cup in 2019. So here are the final results then, and it's Izan Guevara, just 13 1,000ths of a second. So close was the fight between those two on the final lap. David Alonso coming out on top in a 9-rider gaggle to take 3rd place and make it back-to-back podiums today here at Aragon, with Ajira Zacco just losing out. Fermin Aldeguer came through from 15th on the grid to take 5th, whereas another superb ride by Ivan Ortola, who came through from 33rd on the grid, row number 11, to get himself inside the top 7. After leading the race at one point earlier on, Marcos Rueda eventually slipped backwards to 10th, before a big gap saw Safareddin Bin Azman take 11th ahead of Josh Watley, Eric Fernandez, Gavin Plonks and Diogo Moreira, who took the final points. Julen Avia and Carlos Torresillas were inside the top 20, with Dirk Geiger finishing 23rd, Marco Gaggi 24th and Jack Hart 25th before he heads back to Britain for the British Talent Cup. But it's these 3 guys that clinched the podium places A second visit of the day for David Alonso. A first visit of the day for Jose Rueda, and of course a fifth visit to the top step in succession for Izan Guevara. And obviously as a result of that, it means that it's a fifth successive race winners medal going the way of the Cuna de Campione squad. David Alonso coming out on top in the fight for third. Delighted to pick up that. Jose Rueda, who wasn't best pleased in Parc Verde, but at least there's a smile on his face now after picking up second place. The first podium finish of the season. Well, there's no smile in Aragon bigger than that man. 5 wins on the bounce. You would think he might get slightly bored of it, but not the case at all, because he's picked up another race win. The Czech going the way of Jose Rueda. Possibly because Repsol were fed up of giving money out to the Guevara family. He's won that many times, but he will enjoy the Spanish national anthem here in Aragon. Izan Guevara again finishing on top in the European Talent Cup race. Superb stuff from the 14-year-old.
Yeah, really impressive performance from him once again. Who can stop him? Rueda gave it a good try today, but just thousandths shy over the line. But impressive stuff there from those guys to duel it out over another spectacular race. But yeah, pretty ominous form from the man in charge of the championship as we head into the summer break.
Well, everybody's tried the level best to get the better of him so far. Fermin Aldeguer's finished second to him twice. David Munoz finished second to him in Valencia. Then today we've had David Alonso finishing second to him, and then Jose Rueda. So 4 men have tried the very best to beat Guevara, but he's just had too much to offer, and as a result it looks like it is his championship to lose now with just 3 rounds remaining. We don't want to curse him, but the manner in which he's going, he does look unstoppable.
People said that about Alvaro Bautista earlier in the year. Things can change quickly, but he is very much in charge, isn't he? Now you can see that advantage, a whopping 58 points after this round at MotorLand Aragon.
Especially with the rounds ticking away in the manner that they are. Just 3 rounds remaining, the next of which is at Jerez on the 29th of September, where we'll have 2 Junior World Championship races and 2 European Moto2 races, with just the 1 European Talent Cup race. That is coming your way on the 29th of September, so make sure you join us for that one. Quite the summer break for the Repsol CEV guys. A number of them having a couple of wild cards in the World Championship. We've got
plenty of action though for a few. Fenton Seabright, who'll be in the ETC Series 2 race. He'll be in the British Talent Cup as well. They're racing this summer. We've got rookies alongside MotoGP in Austria. We've got some wildcard performances. There's plenty to come still over the summer. But yeah, definitely until this championship certainly gets back in gear. It's now just over 2 months. So some time to recharge for the men trying to topple the almost unbeatable Izan Guevara, it would seem.
So they'll come back for the final rounds of the season in Jerez, Albacete, and then at Valencia. But today has all been about Izan Guevara. A double victory for him, wins in Moto2 for Hector Garzo and Edgar Pons, and a debut Junior World Championship win for Xavi Artigas. What a day we've had in MotorLand Aragon. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in Jerez in 2 months' time. Okay, thank you.